Hi, this is the voice of Heidie Calero with Puerto Rico in 2022 in retrospect. What has happened during the year? Let's review that, because after all, we always have the hope that the new year will bring new things. It will be positive for many of us. But let's review 2022. We are going to use the headlines, the covers of the local newspaper, and maybe sprinkle it with some of the covers of the Economist, because after all, Puerto Rico being an island, it's going to be affected by all world events, all that has been happening. And I just want to interject those covers only to give you perspective. Let's start with the first cover of El Nuevo Dia, which is a local newspaper. And in Spanish it says, or in English it says, that Laura Taylor, she is the judge that presides the bankruptcy proceedings for the public debt of Puerto Rico. And it says that the judge already vouches for that plan that will allow Puerto Rico to leave bankruptcy, so that we leave it behind us. And so this is how the year started. The judge was all intent on having all of this issues of public debt really being taken care of, so that by the end of this year, Puerto Rico would be at least out of the bankruptcy court. Of course, there are many more things that Puerto Rico has to do before it can be outside the responsibility of the Fiscal Oversight Board, according to the law commonly known as Promesa that Congress mandated back in 2016. But let's go back to what the new year started. We were hoping, and of course during the year we did have the restatement, or at least the renegotiation of the GOs, general obligation bonds. We had the negotiation of highway authority, but there's still a big thorny item that we will look at as we progress in this review of 2022. The next cover that we have here is how high will interest go? As you remember from last week's capsule, we talked about the Chairman Jerome Powell really putting the accelerator in those increases in the Fed rates, but now decelerating from 75 basis points hikes to maybe 50 basis points, but not taking the shoe off the pedal, the foot off the pedal, because inflation is still close to 7%, and food prices do not seem to relinquish or to give any reprieve. So as we see, those interest rates will be and have been affecting Puerto Rico, especially those new homeowners, or those who are trying to buy new homes or change their homes. Well, mortgage rates are also rising, and construction materials as well as loans are also picking up in interest rates, and that certainly are not good news for the reconstruction of Puerto Rico. Our next cover, as you see there, is again from El Nuevo Dia. The cover, it says Treasury Fines, or at least deals with the U.S. Treasury on what has been known as Law 154, which is the 4% that foreign companies, and for Puerto Rico's tax laws, U.S. companies are foreign, they get a break from that. Well, Law 154 provided Puerto Rico a 4% of those gross exports, regardless, that were sent outside Puerto Rico from these multinationals. Well, you know, U.S. Treasury has been saying long before the Hurricane Maria back in 2017, look, this was only temporary. It should have been ended maybe by 2015 or 2016, and you have been going on, and the hurricane, then COVID. Well, this is it. When the governor went, prior governor went to see U.S. Treasury, the treasurer said, no, that's it. This is going to end. So by 2023, that should be done away. And this headline says that Puerto Rico Treasury has been able to strike a deal with U.S. Treasury. We still don't know what those deals are. Remember that these tax-exempt deals, or at least that these tax-exempt agreements, are between Puerto Rico Treasury and the multinationals. And unless they agree to renegotiate those tax exemptions, it's going to be very tough. So we'll see what happens there, but at least it seemed to be good news back in March. The next cover that you see there is from The Economist, The Alternative World Order. There we see Xi Jinping and Putin from Russia, and we all know what has been happening with the war between Ukraine and Russia, and it seems this relentlessness in terms of Vladimir Putin to not agree to truce or to withdraw its troops from Ukrainian territory. So it seems that Russia and China have been talking and have been negotiating maybe an agreement which, as we know from Chinese past events, they are not necessarily tied up to Russia, but at any rate, it seems to be a world new order that we are still trying to find our pace as to what that will imply. The next cover is what is happening in terms of an emergency state to try and retain our medical professionals. Our physicians are leaving by drones Puerto Rico because either they don't have the breaks, the health insurance companies are paying them very little, and they say, well, you know, we are tired, and if there are these mermaids songs from the U.S., come to the U.S. We need those bilingual medical professionals, and they're well trained. They will be leaving, and we have a society that is really permeated by many old people, and what we are seeing are difficulties in terms of finding specialists and physicians, and that will only get worse. Then the next cover from The Economist is the food catastrophe, not only because of some of the crop, the harvest that have been facing, some of the climate problems, but also again all these disruptions in the food chains because of this Ukraine war, as well as the COVID-19. So food prices have not been down in the country. They are on double digits. The next one is a very important topic in Puerto Rico, which is again from El Nuevo Dia. We have people who are not, don't know either to know how to read or write. So there is this increase in people who have this, and we have only people. Human resources are our real target and our real tool to come out of this economic recession. And we are seeing there is this lag because of the closing of schools, and we have not been able to close that gap. So an important challenge that we face for the future. The next one is, as we didn't have enough, and this next cover is Fiona. That was a hurricane that did cause floods in Puerto Rico, although it devastated more in the States. But as we didn't have enough, we had Fiona with all these, as you see there, all these floods, and all we had from these shutdowns in terms of the electrical grid. It took a few days before the electrical grid was restored. Then we had, this next cover, it says, we have difficulties finding the people to rebuild Puerto Rico. We miss construction hands and construction people who are well trained. So again, the labor market in this paradigm of people not having the skills, as well as not wanting those jobs that pay maybe even slightly higher than the minimum wage, and they're going more in droves to be self-employed. The next one, as we didn't have Santa's back, as I said before, well, the Puerto Rico Electric Power Authority is already saying this renegotiation of the debt will cause another hefty increase in the price in the electrical rate, and it could be very uneven. Who pays for what? So again, a challenge for 2023. But good news, this next cover says that Congress approved $19 billion for Medicaid. And Medicaid for Puerto Rico, it is not the same as in the US, but at least this gives a relief for the government's health insurance plan, of which about 1 million people, Puerto Rico has 3.2 million, about 1 million people are dependent on that vital plan. So our final cover from The Economist says, the world ahead for 2023, we still have many challenges, be it a global, be it the war, be it whether China will reopen, eliminating its zero COVID policy, and that will entail an increase in demand for oil, which would spike oil prices, but it would be a relief again because manufacturing could restart and some of these chain distribution problems may be impacted positively. Certainly, US is facing a deceleration, higher interest rates, and Puerto Rico is also facing a slowdown in the forecast of its economic growth, of which we have not pulled out. So 2023 faces many challenges. We hope that the Happy New Year will be happy, but as we look in retrospect to 2022, there are many challenges ahead. So if you liked our economic capsules, don't forget to go to YouTube, subscribe to the Voice of Heidie Calero, give us a like in those economic capsules, and don't forget, this is a service of Puerto Rico Economic Pulse. And my advice now is, for those of you who are facing all these Christmas shopping, remember 2023 may be facing you with higher interest rates in your credit cards, and ahead electrical bill rates, more in terms of tolls, more in terms of water hikes. So be cautious. Enjoy Christmas, but be cautious for 2023. Remember, the economy is all of us. Until next year. Thank you.